folks, Craig Danger, vinyl record player. Oh, here to do, of course, 5 underrated debut LPs of 1971, and oh, what a year it was. Stick around to the end, there's going to be bonus picks. But right now, my suggestion is buckle up. Thanks again for joining me again for another 5 underrated debut LPs. This time we're talking about 1971, as a matter of fact. Stick around to the end. We got bonuses. We got a couple of bonus picks. Just heard today, I was like, oh, these are underrated. I barely even heard of these, but very good albums. But enough of the preamble. Let's just get right to it. We will talk about what? How about Little Feat from 1971. Funny thing about this album, there are many people who are Little Feat fans, and frankly, if you talk to, I think, most Little Feat fans, they will say this. They will say, oh, that first album, I don't know, it's not like the other albums. And I agree. As a matter of fact, I was reading in Wikipedia about them saying the style is similar to other albums. No, I would say no. What happens after this is they get into more of a New Orleans sort of boogie groove. I've always been more partial to describing this album as like basically the Rolling Stones temper tantrum having little brothers basically trying their take on Exile on Main Street. So needless to say, this is a cooker of an album. This is the only Little Feat album that I have. I know Waiting for Columbus is one of those albums that's live. Everybody talks that up, but frankly, this is the only one that I have, and ooh, it is good. Your big tracks on this one, your winners are going to be, of course, Snakes on Everything. Starting with Snakes on Everything, written by keyboardist Bill Payne. Ooh, such a good song. Then, you have to go with Truck Stop Girl, later covered by the Byrds, covered by, I think Gene Parsons also did a cover on his really good LP from, I think it was like about 73. But you got to be looking to Willin', covered by Linda Ronstadt, available in its original form here, was released again on, I believe, the second LP, which I think is called Sailin' Shoes. Again, I don't have that one. But you know what? Willin', ooh, such a good version, such a great song. Anyone who does Willin', so good. If you get an opportunity, like I say, look for this particular version, which I think is a far superior version. This album didn't sell very much. This was one of those albums where basically they were semi-lauded, but frankly, not many people bought this record. I personally think it's their best. It would be on their second LP that they would actually experience a little degree of success. Something notable about this LP, you got Ry Cooder on slide on a couple of these jams. Lowell George, who was kind of the face of Little Feat and also wrote a lot of the songs along with Bill Payne. He actually broke his fingers during the recording of this LP, and they actually had to bring in Ry Cooder. I mean, if you're going to bring in a slide player, you can't lose if you bring in the Ry. So anyway, Ry Cooder on a couple of tracks as well. But anyway, this is an absolute must-have. Particularly, I would say, if you are a Little Feat fan and you're like, oh, this album's trash, give it another listen. Give it another listen. This is, of course, one of Craig Danger's 5 underrated LPs of 1971. So Little Feat, the self-titled from 71. It's a beauty. This one, never really gets the love. Never gets the love. The Dramatics on the Stax label. This, of course, is a repress. This is not the original cover with the maroon tuxedos. Sadly, I mean, who doesn't love a good maroon tuxedo? I don't know very many people who do not. Anyway, this, of course, was their debut. Also, their breakthrough. You've got In the Rain, which was their big hit. I think it went to about number 8 on the Billboard charts. And, basically, cover to cover, this album is great. But your key track is going to be what? What You See Is What You Get. The title track on this one. Fantastic sort of, basically Stax group, male group soul. And all this produced and written by Tony Hester. But you know what? This is really fantastic. Temptations-esque, I've read in places. but I just think it's grittier, it's funkier, it's deeper. It has that southern taste. Produced by Don Davis, who's kind of a legend in the production game. They had actually brought him from Detroit to do some production at Stax, and wow, this album absolutely just smokes. And funky tracks on this one. The Dramatics, hard to beat. What you see is what you get from 1971. Another of the 5. Oh, this one's an interesting one. I did a little research on this one today. Always a good album. You know, I always was a fan of this album. Went through a bit of a country rock period going back a few years. And the New Riders, The Purple Sage. This, of course, being their debut album. Look at that classic shot of it, probably inside a Victorian in San Francisco. Classic shot of the band. This would be the only LP that Jerry Garcia, of course, of the Grateful Dead, would play pedal steel on it. And ooh, does he ever play an excellent pedal steel? Also on this, Mickey Hart, percussionist for the Grateful Dead, and also Commander Cody. So really a little bit of a star-studded affair, this LP. Really good one. Funny thing about the New Riders is that as they progressed, I've got like probably about 3 or 4 of their albums. The next one being Power Glide. But this one from 71, John Dawson, lead singer of the New Riders, he basically wrote every track on this. And, you know, there are some really good ones. I Don't Know You, it starts off with a bang. Dirty Business, Glendale Train. Oh, this is all prime country rock. And a little bit of a psychedelic edge thanks to the Grateful Dead. Sort of vibes injected into this one. But again, this is the most original material the New Riders would ever do, and it's definitely worth a pickup. If you like country rock at all, then the New Riders for 1971, their debut, it's kind of their best. I would also go with Power Glide. That's also a good one. Panama Red is, I think, the 3rd or 4th one. Anyway, all their albums are fun, but I think this one is really the one if you're looking for an entry point into the New Riders of the Purple Sage. Look to 1971. The debut, self-titled. It's a good one on the Columbia label. What do we got? How about a little Eddie Kendricks? Speaking of the Temptations, as we have. You know what? This album, hugely underrated. This is a really good album. Tight production. Frank Wilson, I think, does, basically the whole thing. This, of course, is on the Tamla, so this is a British pressing. But it also is on the Motown label. This one didn't do much. This didn't do very much for Eddie Kendricks. Eddie Kendricks, also, you should probably know, in the late 60s, early 70s, was, of course, the falsetto voice. So he would have been responsible for singing Just My Imagination, among many, many other songs. His big sort of breakthrough would come in, I think, an album later with a song called Truckin', which I believe is on a self-titled, perhaps from 72. Correct me if I'm wrong. In the comments, please. Oh, and by the way, how about liking and subscribing? Like I say, folks have been watching my videos, and I want to thank everybody who likes and subscribes, also who watches. But if you like, that means maybe more people can watch. And I'm like, that's cool. That's something. So anyway, back to Eddie. Like I say, at first, this was a kind of a grower for me, this album, but really good. Of course, Eddie, not a songwriter, but really good singer, and it's not all falsetto jams. He does kind of move up and down. There's a really good Jimmy Webb song on this one as well, Didn't We? He does a fantastic version of it. But Eddie Kendricks, All By Myself, 1971, an underrated debut. And, we're not going to close it out, because you know what? You stick around, we got 2 bonus cuts that I thought of today, but I know. Is this really underrated? I don't know that it is. How about Bill Withers' debut from 1971, Just As I Am? Cover to cover, this is just an absolute smoker of an album, produced by Booker T. Washington, of course, Booker T. and the MGs, and Stax fame, plays guitar, plays keyboards on this album, and wow, it is a beauty. Ain't No Sunshine, Grandma's Hands. You've heard the songs, but this is absolutely worth a pickup. There's not a dud on this one. This is Bill after kind of working on songs for, I think it was upwards of about 5 to 10 years. until he finally gets his break. He gets his break at 30. He's an aircraft mechanic, and he finally gets his break, and wow, it shows just the songcraft on this album. Immense, absolutely fantastic. So this is and this of course is on the Sussex label, of course. This of course would be my number 5. Underrated debuts, maybe less so. If you know this album, you're not underrating it. You're probably telling all your friends, and frankly, that might be what I'm doing right now, telling all my friends. 2 more picks though that I wanted to throw out here just before we close. Like, subscribe, obviously, but very interesting. Today I had the opportunity to listen to a couple albums. Very great Sunday records, real chill records. So I'll put up right now Jonathan Edwards, the self-titled LP. He, of course, was, I think he was roaming around sort of the East Coast, Boston area, and basically released a album of, sort of like folk rock, some good pedal steel on this album. Great Sunday record. Absolutely fantastic. Chill Sunday record. The hit on this one was, of course, Sunshine. Almost everybody knows that one. I think it went about to number 3. Never really had a hit after that. But wow, re-listening to this album, I was just like, this is great. I, unfortunately, my physical copy could not find that one. But Jonathan Edwards, and as a second, a little bit of a Canadian insertion into the mix. I did not know about this album until today, but I listened to it and I was like, wow, that's very, very good work, sort of folk rock for the time. Denny Doherty, What You Gonna Do from 1971. That one actually I'm going to be seeking, to be honest. I do not have a copy of that one, but after listening to it today, I was really impressed. Denny Doherty, of course, being the male lead singer of the Mamas and Papas, along with John Phillips, of course, who took less of the vocal duties. Also a Canadian gentleman, did not know. But you know what? Very, very good folk rock record. Also a lot of really beautiful pedal steel from Buddy Emmons, one of the legends in the pedal steel game. So those are a couple of bonus picks for those who stuck around. Thanks for doing so. But yeah, that's pretty much my best 5 plus 2 debut LPs of 1971. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, in the comments, I'll put 1970 and 1960. Check them out. Let me know what you think in the comments. But in the meantime, I'm just going to have to see you on the next one.